Hello, everyone. Welcome or welcome back to Dirty Martini. I hope you're doing well and I hope you're having an amazing day. I have had quite the emotional day myself. I actually had a whole another episode prepared for you guys this week, but then this super monumental thing happened in my life and I couldn't just say it in passing. I don't think I would do it justice if I just summarize it in a minute or two and then edit it in the episode, which is why I decided to dedicate an entire episode to it this week, and the one I had ready I will give to you next week. Just a heads up that I might start crying at a certain point because that is just all the raw emotions I'm feeling right now. And they're all building up on top of each other. And it's quite overwhelming to cope with all of this at once. So, yes, it is quite emotional. So, guys, as you have already seen by the title of this episode, I graduated university. Finally. They weren't kidding when they said that you finish university on a random Tuesday at 4 p.m. Well, for me, that was a random Friday, well, the 28th of June to be precise, around 6 p.m. when I opened the university platform, the student portal, and saw that the grades for the thesis have been released. Now, let me walk you through what happened. I was on the phone with a friend, just chilling and talking about anything and everything, to be honest, when I started getting lots and lots of messages in my friend group's group chat. And that usually can mean so many things, which is why I didn't necessarily register that it was about the thesis, but then I saw that they started texting numbers and a lot of congratulations, and I knew immediately what was going on. Which I think now is the time for me to say that I'm so proud of my friends for successfully completing their degree, and I never doubted that they will, even for a second. And I really wish they were here so that I could share this moment with them, but they're already back home. But I'm certain and I'm hopeful that we will have another opportunity in the future to celebrate. So for now, a virtual hug and a shout out here is all I can do. I'm proud of you guys. So I knew the grades were going to be released today because they have to follow strict deadlines, but we had no clarity about the time they were going to appear on the university platform. And if I'm being fully honest right now, I have never in my entire university experience received my grade back in time. The graders usually always take a few extra weeks to release them, and we basically get the grades 2 weeks before the next exam period, so it's just all too stressful. And while I wasn't doubting my friend's ability to graduate, I was definitely a bit iffy about my grades being released when they were supposed to. Just, I've been burned a few times too many, so that definitely delayed my stress in a sense, but I could still feel it build up day by day. And my supervisor emailed us a few hours prior to confirm that the grades will be released today, and she signed off by saying, "Go out and enjoy the weather." And I was like, girl, does it mean enjoy the weather in a good way? Or more like go out and touch some grass because you need it for your own good? So that just raised my stress levels significantly. Because that result really determines whether or not I, first and foremost, get to have a summer. And second of all, if I get to do the degree I applied for, because you cannot be admitted without a bachelor's degree to do a master's degree, even though I'm already provisionally admitted. And to be honest with you, that result was, apart from these two things, was also definitely going to determine, or like not determine, but like influence how I see myself for the next few weeks. Because if I failed this and had to go through the entire process again, I would hate everything, because I'm not sure I can do it again, or at least not that close to my first attempt. I am still trying to calm down from the first try, and the thought of having to do it a second time is just overwhelming. It is not about the grade in itself per se, it's about what it means for my immediate future, if that makes more sense to put it like this. It is in no way related to seeking academic validation, but more to seeking closure and peace after everything I went through. Okay, now that I have mentioned academic validation, I think it is important to talk about it for a second, so I need to say this. So, I stopped seeking academic validation in the way I used to a long time ago. I did seek some sort of academic validation in high school, but that is because that was everything I could offer. I felt like I could compensate with grades with what I lacked as a person, and I'm guilty of, at times, equating my self-worth and overall worth as a person with my grades, which is extremely stupid and unreasonable, I know. But I'm glad and happy to say that this has dramatically changed, and thank God for this. After I got into university, I finally understood what people meant when they said a pass is a pass. That is not to say that I wasn't putting in any effort anymore, by no means. I was always giving it my best. Actually, when I came to university, I finally realized how easy I had it in high school. Because in high school, it was very easy for me to get high scores without necessarily putting loads and loads of effort. And when I came to university, I realized that I have no clue how to properly study. So I had to teach myself how to study before I started actually learning something, because studying as a higher education student is an entirely different experience to that of a high schooler. So that took me literally a few months, and there are still certain aspects I have not been able to master, but seeing how much effort I put into studying and how I treated the academic life, I just eradicated the concept of good results equal a good person. So I may still not have entirely learned how to properly study, but I learned a more significant lesson along the way. I learned not to let my academic successes and failures determine my self-worth. And I think I was able to do this simply because I was putting in the work. Always. Day in, day out, I was putting in the work. Which, when you think about it, if I'm putting in the work and putting my sweat, blood, and tears in this, I would expect that the outcome would really determine how I saw myself. Because if you give it your all, and your all is not enough to pass that class or that assignment, does that mean you're simply, as a student, not good enough? I don't know, but I don't think so. I just experienced some sort of brain switch, and I wasn't seeking academic validation to tell myself I'm a good or a bad person, or that I am worthy or not. Because I think I just convinced myself that if I gave it my all and actually learned what I had to learn and was interested in learning, of course, the grade did not reflect my knowledge. Because I have had low grades on projects that I can tell you everything from A to Z and from Z to A, and I have had high grades on projects that I'm less knowledgeable about. So for me, the results weren't necessarily that important anymore because I knew that it was the process of studying and putting in the effort that really mattered. And I personally firmly believe that grades are not an immediate and perfect reflection of that process. Grades are just numbers and they do not define us. So basically what I'm trying to say is that grades are not a reflection of your knowledge, in my opinion. Grades are a reflection of a momentary state, because so much goes into the moment of examination and certain things are out of your control. So using this mentality, I just didn't let grades affect me anymore. That being said, I was still really worried about the grade for my BA thesis, simply because of my belief that grades are situated, that they're a momentary reflection. Because in the moments of me writing my thesis, well, guys, I have shared bits with you about my writing process and how I was feeling all throughout. So I was very burnt out. I was very insecure. I just wanted to get it over with. I just wanted to graduate. I wasn't in the best mental and emotional state when I was writing that thesis, which is exactly what made me doubt myself so much. And I was not sure I would succeed. I was very lost and very, very confused. And I could not take a step back and objectively evaluate my situation and my work. The only reason I cared so much about the grade of the bachelor's thesis is because, again, it is necessary for me to continue my education. I couldn't care less if it is a low or a high score, as long as it was a passing score. So after I saw those messages in the group chat, I hung up on my friend and opened my laptop. I just wanted to be fully by myself when seeing my grade because I had no clue what was going to happen and how I was going to react. But I knew that no matter the result, I was going to cry. The question was I going to cry from relief? Or was I going to cry from frustration and exhaustion? I was fully shaking, and the whole process of me opening my laptop and checking my grade took no longer than 30 seconds. But to me, it felt like years. And then I pressed the grade notification, saw my grade, sat down on the floor, and just started sobbing. Because I had officially, successfully graduated from university. And not only this, but I had done it with flying colors, which was an absolute shock to me. I didn't expect to have such a high result because, yes, it was the best I could do at the time, but overall, it wasn't the best I could do. Had I had more time, I would have made a more well-written text, but I did what I could with what I had. And I just, like, seeing that result made me feel so proud because that was a super significant moment, not just for me, but also for my family. Because in that moment, I officially became the first person of my family with higher education. I was just bursting with relief and so much joy and so much pride. And I immediately called my parents crying. Well, I hadn't told them that I was expecting my grades, so when I called them crying, you can imagine that they got so scared. So I would just like to formally apologize for giving them such a heart attack, but I could barely get words out. And when I finally told them that it was happy tears and what the reason behind the tears is, they were so happy for me. And seeing the joy on their faces and the pride that they felt just made me feel extremely fulfilled, because all of this is possible only and simply because of my parents. So my mom, I know she's listening, and I know she's probably thinking, slow down when you talk. I need to translate to myself what you're saying. So I will just say it in a way she understands. Obyčam vi I vybogragal ciało si sa chce. Then I called my sister, who was super proud of me. And then, because we're sisters, and that's just how siblings operate, she started messing with me about the high grade. She told me, like, she was joking, of course, but she told me, now you're like one of those people who say, I didn't study for the test and ends up getting 100. And that is definitely one way to put it. To an outsider, I can definitely see how it can look like this. But I, for whatever reason, feel the need to distance myself from that breed of people because that's just not who I am. It's just that I genuinely could not estimate how I would do at the thesis, so I was as much in the dark about it as the next person. The way I explain it is, when I was in the moment writing that thesis, I was exhausted. I was overwhelmed. And super importantly, I was lost because I didn't know if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, yes, I was getting sufficient feedback, at times even an overwhelming amount of feedback, which was stressful in itself, and I was trying to apply it, the feedback I mean, but my revisions after the feedback provoked more and more feedback, and I was just caught in this constant loop in which I felt lost and confused. And I felt like instead of answering the questions I had already posed, I asked more and more questions and just tangled myself in a web of confusion. It was one of those things when you're so in the moment that you cannot see the bigger picture. I couldn't soberly reflect on all the effort I was putting and all the steps I have walked because everything seems so insufficient. Everything I wrote did not sound the way I wanted it to, and as I already mentioned, getting back tons of pages of feedback on every single line in my draft was definitely overwhelming. But what is even more, it was very hard for me to see that feedback not as a critique and to see it as a, how can you be so dumb to write something like this? But to see it more of a, this is what you should consider to improve it. It is just a suggestion. What can I say? If I have no haters, if I have no critics, I am dead. But also, if I have no lovers and if I have no supporters, I am dead. I have a very complex relationship with myself, okay? What can I say? I am the first to doubt myself, so that is a very interesting way to live, to put it simply. And I am trying to unlearn those behaviors, but I'm trying to turn this self-critique into self-growth. So I think that's why I haven't fully eradicated this self-critique, because in some twisted way, it just works. It just makes me better. So on the more positive side of self-criticism, always thinking, is this as good as I want it to be? Makes me go back and reflect on everything and improve it until I'm proud of the result. So I am a chronic perfectionist about a significant chunk of the things in my life. Well, let's be honest, about everything in my life. And being a perfectionist is just shooting yourself in the foot, because you cannot ever do something perfectly, but also it is simultaneously my biggest drive and motivation to do better and be better. I don't know, it's complex. Anyways, back to me breaking the good news to everyone I know and everyone I haven't even met, because I was so excited and wanted to share my happiness with people who I knew would be happy for me. So let's just say that the phone bill would be phone billing this month. But the quote that touched me so much was when I called my grandparents and they started crying because those people took and are still taking so much care of me. And my grandparents are the ones without who I wouldn't have any sort of education. I owe so much to them. Every single day, from the 1st to the 7th grade, they would pick me up from school and I would go to their apartment, and they're the ones who taught me how to write. They're the ones who taught me how to read, how to be disciplined, how to do my projects, how to write my homework. They are the ones who raised the student in me. And it was just such an amazing full circle moment to tell the people who taught you how to write your name that you have added the letters BA after it. And I just felt extremely happy and grateful that I could share it with them, even if it was through the phone. What really stuck with me was when my mom told me, this is your success. You did this by yourself, you worked hard, and you earned it. And I understand what she means fully. Because yes, I was the one who did the research and studied. And I was the one who put in the work to write and rewrite the rewritten. But I didn't do this by myself. I would not be here even for a single day if it wasn't for those people. If it wasn't for my parents, for my sister, for my grandparents. And I feel extremely privileged to have them in my life and to be unconditionally loved and supported by them. They have been with me all those years, as you can imagine, even prior to university, and they have loved and supported me even, or maybe most, in the times when I deserved no love and no support. They showed compassion and understanding when I was stressed, when I was angry, when I was mean. And I cannot imagine, and I don't want to imagine, a life without those people. This success is not mine. This success is ours. I am a product of their love, a product of their grace, their care, and their support. So no, Mom, I didn't do this by myself. I did this only and simply thanks to you. Because without you lot, there is no me. My family, they have been my rock. They have been my safe space. They have been my home. Now, looking back on when I moved here, I can say that yes, it was not easy for me in any aspect, but it was most definitely difficult for them to see me go, to let me go. And the fact that they neglected their hardships so that they can ease mine, I'm not taking it for granted. And I'm not taking them for granted. This week, I finally completed the goal I came with in the Netherlands. I moved countries. I had countless sleepless nights. I stayed in instead of going out. I cried many times, more than I can remember. I doubted myself. I failed. I succeeded. I felt lost. I got found and then lost myself again. And I am in the process of finding who I am yet again. I'm not going to lie to you. It wasn't rainbows and flowers all throughout. I don't even know if it was for even half of the things I went through with living abroad. Well, the friendships I made along the way are definitely the most valuable thing I gained from this experience, which is what is making me feel reassured that I took the right path. But again, I would be lying to say that it has been the most amazing and positive adventure. It was definitely humbling in every single aspect. It was a road paved with confusion and doubt and uncertainty. And I was wondering whether I made a mistake by coming here, whether I made a mistake by leaving my entire life back home behind, whether I made a mistake by choosing to stay here. And all of these ups and downs led me to this very moment. The moment I have been waiting for, the moment I have been working towards for years, the moment I and my family have invested so much time and energy into. And no matter what happened, no matter what I went through, I persisted. I never gave up, even when I wanted to. And trust me, I wanted to give up many times. Take it as you wish. Call me cocky, call me self-absorbed, but I'm extremely proud of myself. I did this, and nobody can take it away from me. The confidence I feel is just something I didn't expect to feel. But here we are. And I'm just walking lighter and with a smile on my face. I haven't stopped crying, but I also haven't stopped smiling. There is so much left to do. This is just the beginning of my journey, and reaching this milestone has proven to me that I am stronger than I think I am. So guys, I don't know what to tell you. What you can maybe take away from this episode is no matter what you go through, no matter how many hardships you face, no matter how many times you fail, just don't give up. When you're in the moment, it is difficult sometimes to remember why you started. It is difficult to remember where you started or where you're going. It is difficult to remember how much you have walked and achieved. It is difficult and even daunting to comprehend how much you have yet to walk and achieve. It is difficult to look at the bigger picture and give yourself the flowers you deserve for doing what you have already done and for having the bravery to be in this situation. So, what I would advise you and what I would advise 19-year-old me, the one who just started university and the one who felt overwhelmed and didn't know how to navigate it, I would just tell her, take a step back, disconnect from a second, and reflect on what you have done. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. Give yourself grace and love and show up for yourself. It is hard. It sucks at times. And at times you definitely want to give up because you see no point. You feel like you're wasting your time. But if you really want it, and I think this is actually the first thing I would advise you, figure out first and foremost if you really, really want it. And if you do, then it is worth it. The gratification and relief that come from seeing the results of all the work you have put throughout the years, all the pain you went through to recover, all the hardships you faced to succeed, that is an amazing feeling. That is a freeing feeling. And that is a feeling and a moment nobody can take away from you. Even if it's just a bachelor's degree, and even if lots and lots of people are getting their degree, and you feel like you're just one of the many and didn't achieve anything special, you totally did. You achieved something great, and you deserve to enjoy it. So take your time to enjoy the moment, to reflect on how far you have come, and stay positive for the future, and stay eager for your next adventure. So, with that being said, I would like to proudly say that I'm officially a university graduate. And I love this for me. I didn't love the entirety of the process, but with that being said, I wouldn't change a single thing. If I could go back and redo things, I would do everything exactly the way I did it the first time. Because it was exactly those hardships, exactly those mistakes, those troubles, those tears and problems, and the solutions I found to them, which led me to where I am now. And I believe that where I am now is where I belong. I wouldn't change a single thing because all those things turned me into me, and I love me. No matter all the doubts I have sometimes, I love me and I'm proud of me, and I have earned this self-love and self-pride. It was the most difficult lesson I had to learn in university. Loving and respecting myself wasn't easy. And I think I'm getting a pretty good result at this in the moment. Of course, there are times when I fail that class, but I refuse to drop out from this one. And I always come back to the next lecture. And I feel entitled to enjoy the success after working so hard on achieving it. So to everyone who has helped me along the process, my family, my friends, my teachers, and myself, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I couldn't have done it without you, and I feel extremely blessed to have had you and to have you in my life. With that being said, thank you for listening to today's episode. See you next week. University graduate out. Bye.